Good day, my friends. So I am really on a roll with filming. This is the third video I've done today. And today I'm sort of going to do 3 games in one, because I'm going to be reviewing the Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy for the 3DS. Now, I have actually played the original Ace Attorney games on either the DS or the WiiWare, which they're basically the same on both of those systems. And when they decided to make all 3 games in one package on the 3DS, they decided to make the graphics high resolution, so basically a little extra details on the character models, and the graphics are slightly less muddy, but otherwise keep the gameplay intact. And seeing as I had a gift card at the time as a birthday present, I was able to download this trilogy for free. And even though I'd already played those games multiple times each, I said, wouldn't hurt to try them again. And boy am I glad that I did. Because as much as I love each Ace Attorney individually, I especially loved seeing it in one package, because then it felt like one giant game that was trying to tell a huge story. And as a result, it helped me to appreciate the characters more. It helped me to appreciate Phoenix's development as a character. And it was just nice to see everything look better. So anyway, first off, if you've never played an Ace Attorney game, you should know that this is about as far from a courtroom simulation as you can get. Basically, you control a lawyer named Wright, and in the case of the third game, you sometimes have flashback cases where you control his mentor, Mia Fey, back in her days as a lawyer. And you'll listen to like the craziest witnesses you can imagine, talking about what they saw at the crime. You can shout, "Hold it!" into the microphone if you want to press them for more details, or just press the L button. There's alternatives if you don't want to sound like an idiot if you're playing it on the bus. And then sometimes when you press them for new information, you'll get either new testimony or new evidence in your court record, which you can always look at on the bottom screen, while you can still keep looking at the top screen at the witness to like compare the testimonies without having to keep switching the screens on and off like in the WiiWare version. And then eventually you might be like, this evidence contradicts what they're saying. And then you can shout, "Objection!" And then like the music gets all dramatic. Phoenix points his finger, the camera zooms in on his face as you see like blue lines shrieking past him. The witness does like this over the top, like, "Oh, you got me," kind of animation. And the game is also riotously funny. Like, I don't know if I've ever laughed so loud when playing a game. Not only does it reference tons and tons and tons of pop culture from North America, some of which I haven't even heard of, but even without all that, the game just knows how to take something as serious as a murder trial and turn it into a comedy. In fact, it's often called a kangaroo court in some way or another. And Phoenix's inner monologues are often so priceless because he's the more realistic one among a cast of clowns, really. Like, you hardly ever get someone that takes the courtroom seriously. But that's not to say this game doesn't have its intense moments. The investigations in and of themselves, I have never really liked them that much, and this version did very little to change my mind. They're basically just a bunch of point and clicks. And since I had already just come back from playing Ace Attorney Dual Destinies and seeing like rotatable crime scenes, and like the cursor would have a check mark when you're finished looking at something and a little notepad telling you what to do, this game had none of it. You basically had to do everything yourself. You had to remember everything that was said. You had to think, okay, I searched this area thoroughly. Now, they said that I needed to go here, but say you paused the game and decided to take like a 3-day break, you'd be like, no, now I forgot what I'm doing! And you have no idea what you're going to do next. And it just, some of the times where you're just like, you missed one little itty bitty pixelated thing, and you can't proceed through the game, and no one will tell you why. But what's especially annoying is what was introduced in the later 2 games, which is called Cyclox. Basically, Phoenix has the ability to be able to tell when someone is holding a secret from him. And so it basically gives you a chance to present evidence outside of the courtroom, even though you now have to say, "Take that!" instead of "Objection." These I found to be incredibly frustrating because oftentimes the game would present you with an opportunity to solve the psych lock before you actually had enough evidence to proceed. And so as a result, I'd often think that I had the answer, and I wouldn't, but the game wouldn't tell me that I didn't have enough evidence. So I ended up losing like half my health bar. And then I'd finally be like, maybe I should go investigate some more. And then I would, and then I'd be like, well, that stinks. Why didn't they just wait to reveal the psych lock? And not only that, but to make matters worse, is even though half of your health bar refills when you get rid of a psych lock, the lost health that the health bar didn't refill carries into the courtroom. So you get less tries in the courtroom when you're trying to hassle a witness outside the courtroom, so the judge has less patience based on how your investigations went. That's not smart game design, my friends. That's just being lazy. And especially in Justice for All, there were just way too many psych locks, and the only ones that truly gave me any sort of pleasure whatsoever in solving were the ones where they'd have like a bunch of locks, and it took maybe one or two pieces of evidence to get the character to be like, okay, cool, and then they're all done. I'm just like, whew, about time. But that's not to say the investigations didn't have any redeemable elements. Maya Fey, as Phoenix's assistant, is absolutely priceless. Her sort of on the spot, talk first, think later humor contrasts perfectly with Phoenix's more kind of edgier side, but also like really scatterbrained when he's in the courtroom, and Maya's the one that's like, hello, Earth to Nick, you should be paying attention right now. It works really well. It's the kind of relationship that no one would expect to have in real life unless it's in this game's wacky universe where Japan and America have sort of merged into Jamerica based on the game's localizations reports. So occasionally you'll get a lot of Japanese references, but the game still feels American enough where it doesn't get overwhelming most of the time. Now, the other scary thing about this game is when you have to deal with the prosecutors. And boy, does it seem like Phoenix really gets the hard end. Now, prosecutors are supposed to prove that a crime has been committed, but these prosecutors are often so determined to prove Phoenix's client guilty that they'll resort to dirty means. You've got probably the fairest of the lot is Miles Edgeworth, the very first one, the stuffy prosecutor that everything has to be done by the rules and everything is planned out in advance, and he really doesn't have a funny bone in his body. Then you've got Franziska von Karma in the second one, where she wields a whip in the courtroom and everything is her way or no way, and she's basically never, ever, ever afraid to lay the smack down, even if it means like literally smacking the witness with her whip. And then you've got Godo, who's just really mysterious. Like, he's got his face behind a red mask, kind of like a half Darth Vader. And he says, I have come back from the depths of hell to do battle with you. And you're like, who the heck even is this guy? So overall, the games do work together, for the most part, surprisingly well. Because you might encounter one character in one game and then see how much they've developed in another, or one case might be referenced in the first game and then it'll have huge ramifications in the next. Now, when I initially played the Ace Attorney series, I played Trials and Tribulations first, and so I didn't fully appreciate the character development and how really touching the game can be when, like, say someone dies or Maya has to like leave for almost a decade, and then anyway, I'm gonna pretend that never happened because Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright came along and brought her back. So some people are going to find this game really enjoyable for its satirical nature, but other people are probably going to find it really frustrating because sometimes you'll enter avenues where you have to reread text that you've already read, and boy, is there a lot of it. Like, you wonder why North America doesn't have too many visual novel video games. It's because it's pretty much like you're reading a book, and only every now and then will you have to do any actual input. And most of them, because you're in a courtroom, half the time. You're just answering questions, really. And a lot of people might find that their logic is 2 steps ahead of the game's, or that the game's logic doesn't make any sense. And so you end up just presenting every little thing, and then you're like, oh, I spotted a contradiction, and then the contradiction just doesn't match with your reasoning. Thankfully, such moments are few and far between, and once you finally do get the right answer, which is typically just a process of elimination, then you're back to loving every minute of the game. As Nintendo Power said, you can never stay mad at Phoenix. There's just a certain charm that makes you keep coming back, figuring out how the cases resolve themselves, because Phoenix has this way of totally managing to turn the case around and let you have a whole new perspective on it. And it's brilliant. The music is brilliant, even if it's really chiptune. The animations can get a little bit tiring, but they do get enough of the job done well to help you really get into the feel of the somewhat satirical, but at times really serious nature of the game. So, the only thing that I would recommend against if you're going to buy it is if you don't like buying games digitally, you'll have to buy this game overseas, because Capcom has been being really weird lately, and they refused to put this game in a boxed edition for North America. So you'll unfortunately have to download this from the eShop, and it takes up, I believe, something like 3,000 blocks on your card, and that's just brutal. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.